Week 4 NFL Power Rankings. Welcome back to JM Football. My name is Justin Penik. Dalton Feely is to my left. Dalton, we have another week of NFL action. I would say Week 2's action saw a lot of exciting games that came down to the wire. Week 3's NFL action didn't have the same last-minute games, but I would say the overall theme of the week was the underdog coming through.
Woof, woof, baby. Texans, Cardinals, Colts, the 3 of the 4 biggest underdogs catch a W in Week 3. And let's get into these power rankings. Excited.
Let's do it. So how we do these power rankings is we break them up into tiers. We'll start at the bottom and then go to the top. We'll start off with Caleb Williamsville. 32, we have the Chicago Bears. 31, we have the Denver Broncos. Both teams really with, I guess, some sort of expectations heading into this year. And, man, they just have not met them. Carolina Panthers at 30. Houston Texans, big winner at 29.
In Jacksonville, catching a W 37-17. That's the Texans' 5th straight win in Jacksonville. They've just been very dominant in Jacksonville for some reason. Give credit to DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud getting their first career NFL win as head coach and quarterback, respectively. Stroud becomes the first player in NFL history to throw for over 900 yards in his first 3 starts. Without any interceptions. So how about that? Good start for the Ohio State kid. Tank Dell plays really well.
Yeah.
Will Anderson blocks a field goal. Andrew Beck, the fullback, returns a touchdown on a field goal. The heaviest player to return the kickoff return for a touchdown in NFL history. Texans dominate that game. What a win. What a first win for those guys.
So there was no Bryce Young and there was no Anthony Richardson this past week. So CJ Stroud was the only rookie quarterback to really take stage. And the Texans right now, they're operating like an average passing offense. Offense coordinator Bobby Slowick, former passing game coordinator with San Fran. They're doing a really good job. What I saw, they're doing a good job like in bunch personnels, really branching out from there with route combinations, trying to create some big plays. And Tank Dell is creating a lot of those big plays. And apparently, this is according to PFT, a cool little pre-draft story of CJ Stroud being like, I want you to draft Tank Dell. Senior Bowl standout. So shout out.
Love that. And you see sometimes that works, and other times, like Patrick Mahomes wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the draft, and that hasn't worked out in the same facet. So, good for the Texans.
Next here, we're going to move to Thank You Next.
Shout out Ariana Grande.
28, Arizona Cardinals, big win. 27, Tennessee Titans. 26, Las Vegas Raiders. And 25, the Minnesota Vikings. I want to highlight the Arizona Cardinals here for a hot sec. They just seem like a very well-coached team. And this is a serious statement. I think through the first 3 weeks of the season, Jonathan Gannon is the coach of the year.
I think that's a stretch. I think because I mean, let's face it, right? They're 1-2. Have they overachieved expectations through those 3 games?
They're 3-0 against the spread.
Sure.
Good teams win. Great teams cover.
I understand. I get it. They've overachieved expectations through 3 weeks, but you're going to tell me Mike McDaniel is not the coach of the year right now with how great the Dolphins have been?
I mean, that's continuity. It's the second year in the system. You have Tua, you have Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle's been hurt, but you still have him. You have adding Vic Fangio to the defensive side of the ball. Very underrated move. So, yes, like Mike McDaniel is like, if you were to put an NFL award show on right now, Mike McDaniel's the coach of the year.
Yeah.
But the job that Jonathan Gannon's doing with that team, where the front office, with the moves that they made, said, we don't want to win this year.
Yeah.
We don't want to win. And the players and the coaches, I'm sure they're never thinking that.
No, never.
But, man, they're playing hard, and they're a well-coached team. And if you look on EPA tiers, offensive EPA, defensive EPA, and for all the credit that we're giving the Rams, kind of maybe even being back in it, the Cardinals and the Rams are on the same tier of efficiency with each other.
You know what? They've been competitive. That's the biggest thing. You watched it firsthand week 2 versus your Giants. They're just in games. They don't put their foot off the pedal.
And they beat a really good Dallas team.
They beat a very good Dallas team.
Kicked their ass.
Minus Trayvon Diggs, sure. But, I mean, they had everybody else for the most part on that defensive side of the ball. So that's impressive that you put up 28. Give credit. Again, I just shouted out first-time head coach, first-time quarterback. I'm giving out a shout-out. Jonathan Gannon gets his first NFL win as a head coach.
Yes.
Josh Dobbs gets his first career win as a starter.
7 years?
7 years in the league, gets his first career start. What a guy. He's one of those guys that you just really want to root for. He was in a tough situation last year, and he gets his first win, so how about it? Cardinals were just so dominant in that game. They never, the first 5 scores in the first half, they didn't punt. They scored all 5 times, and they were never trailing. First time they put up over 400 yards since week 2 of 2022, so full year. Their best performance, and hopefully they're going the right side.
Let's move to the mid-mamma tier where we have the Jets at 24, the Giants at 23, the Patriots at 22, Commanders at 21. The Colts, your first place, Indianapolis Colts, are at number 20. The Bucks are at 19, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are at 18. There's a lot of teams here that I feel like, Colts are coming off a win, but there's some teams here that are in this tier that are coming off losses as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's the mid-mamma tier, and even someone like the Cardinals can win another game and join this mid-mamma tier. The Vikings could start winning games and join the mid-mamma tier. Why not them working their way back up to playoffs? I think playoffs, why not? It's a little generous with the Vikings being 0-3, but there's these teams because of the way that the NFL went this weekend with all the underdog victories. Certainly there could be some movement in these power rankings within the next couple weeks. So playoffs, why not? Let's get to it. Rams, they lose, so they're at 17. Mm-hmm. Falcons 16, Saints 15, Packers 14, defeating the Saints. Really nice comeback victory for them in the fourth quarter. LaFleur showing some balls in the fourth quarter, going for 2. You have the Browns at 13 and the Chargers at 12. Dalton, the main thing that we want to do here is we want to have a Browns versus Chargers debate.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think if we're going blind resume test, if we're looking at these two rosters and saying which team do I think is the better team, right now it's the Cleveland Browns. I think are both in agreement with that. I think if we're projecting them for this year, the thing I want to say is I would take the Chargers over the Browns, not because of their schedule, not because of their roster, but because of quarterback. Now, Deshaun Watson looked much better in week 3 than he has the first 2 weeks of the season, so I give him credit. But Justin Herbert's playing at an NFL MVP caliber level. Yeah. Like, he's been fantastic. He just sets the record, the franchise record of 213 consecutive attempts without throwing an interception for the Los Angeles Chargers, which is very impressive. The man, 3rd in passing yards. He has the best touchdown to interception ratio. Hasn't thrown a pick. Justin Herbert, we talk about, sometimes those turnover-worthy plays. Hasn't done it this year. Yeah. And he's not the reason why they're 1-2. It's been that defense. The Chargers defense. The Chargers were the first team to put up 50 points in the first 2 weeks of NFL season, not turn the ball over, and lose both those games.
No.
I still think the Chargers have been underwhelming. I think they bounce back. I hope they bounce back for Justin Herbert's and Brandon Staley's sake. But we'll see, man. I think the Chargers are better than the Browns.
Herbert's 3rd in the league right now in an EPA and CPOE composite. So Herbert's playing at that MVP level. But, man, I don't believe in the team.
Okay.
Because Herbert's been doing this, maybe not at this like absolutely elite MVP level, but he's been doing things like this for the last couple of years. And also the Chargers just lose Mike Williams for the rest of the year. So
which is huge for that offense.
Guys like Josh Palmer and guys like Quentin, first round pick Quentin Johnson's got to actually step up to the plate. So that'll be interesting to see. But it's not that I don't trust Justin Herbert. It's just that I don't trust Brandon Staley right now as a coach, and I don't trust a defensive coach's defense. And that is the main concern. Where the Browns, where you are right. Like, everything that you said is right. Where it's like, hey, if this were, I will agree, I will concede to you, because still I still do have some major question marks about the Browns offense. And even them losing Nick Chubb is huge. He's the best running back in the NFL. He's the most efficient running back in the NFL. And it's not just Kevin Stefanski, and it's not just the offensive line that would make that Browns running game good. Nick Chubb, was a huge part in helping that Browns running game and that Browns offense do what they do. So I will concede for right now keeping the Chargers up there because of the quarterback. And at the end of the day, that is what's most important in football. But also that Browns defense, man. You heard on Football Today, Chris Rose and Bobby Skinner were talking about it, and they brought up some great stats. Like 53% of all plays that the Browns defense has been on the field, that's either plays have gone for either 0 yards or negative yards. That's insane stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like this Browns defense,
Very
the
good.
physicality that they've brought, it's different from what they did last year, where they were bad against the run last year. And they added guys on that defensive front. We've talked about Zadarius Smith. We've talked about adding guys like Dalvin Tomlinson. And bringing Jim Schwartz here, too, where Jim Schwartz is such an underrated defensive coordinator, kind of like wherever he goes. That's made this Browns team, like if their offense can just be okay, it does make them pseudo contenders in the AFC.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and listen, the defense has been so good. Great stat, by the way, from the Football Today guys. Total yards per game, first in football, 163.7 for that Browns defense. Third down percentage, 19.5%, first in the NFL. Points allowed per game, 10.7, first in the NFL. So that Browns defense has been fantastic. They've been so good. The question is, who do we trust more going forward? Is it the Cleveland Browns offense or the Los Angeles Chargers defense? And that's what it's going to come down to.
And I also think the Browns have a much better chance at going after that division.
Yes.
Versus the Chargers. Like I don't view them catching up to the Chiefs.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's also part of it as well. So let's go to the next tier where we have the Browns divisional rival Baltimore Ravens in this next tier. The playoffs, you better be there tier. Mm-hmm. At 11, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ooh, a little debatable having them there, right? The Lions at 10, the Seahawks at 9, the Bengals are at 8, the Ravens are at 7. Dalton, how many of these teams lost this week in this tier?
So you got the Jaguars. Loss. They lose to Houston at home.
Yeah.
Detroit, they win. They beat Atlanta in a nice win at home.
Yeah.
Seattle, they win in an unconvincing win versus Carolina, but they still win. Cincinnati, they win 19-16 on Monday night. And the Baltimore Ravens lose to my Indianapolis Colts in overtime, 22-19. So a couple teams that have lost in this tier, but we still have those expectations. We're like, okay, tough week. Let's move on to week 4. You better win next week. Otherwise, we're going to have to readjust.
Yeah. And you could be... We'll see with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, that's kind of like a team where it's like, they've lost 2 in a row, but I'm still not ready to say that the Chargers and the Browns and teams like the Packers and Saints, I'm not ready to say that they're better than the Jaguars yet, and that's the reasoning for keeping them there, despite them losing back-to-back games.
Yeah.
Now, you can even say, well, the Bengals won and the Ravens lost. Why are those teams still right next to each other? And for me, it comes down to, I think the Ravens offense looks better. And I don't know if the Bengals are going to be right unless Joe Burrow is right. And, even Joe Burrow's not the Lamar Jacksons of the world. He's not the Josh Allens of the world. He's not the Patrick Mahomes of the world. But still, like, Joe Burrow and Tom Brady has this in common too. What they really do best is they're mobile within the pocket, and they can extend plays within the pocket, even though they don't have the legs of, like I said, Mahomes and Allen and such like that. But that's what makes Burrow so valuable, and I don't think he has that same mobility and ability to extend plays in the pocket right now. And he took some sacks, and anytime he took a sack against the Rams, you clenched up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially after having that hamstring injury. We're wondering how healthy he is. I will say the one thing, like, we're comparing him to, like, Lamar, Josh, and Mahomes.
It's his calf, too. His calves are scary.
Calf, hamstring. Yeah, but the whole lower half is a scary thing.
Yeah.
We're comparing them to their rushing ability, not their quarterback play. It's more so their rushing ability, because they can run and they like to run, right. Whereas Burrow could run. He chooses not to usually. The Bengals' offense in the first half has been a huge question mark. They really haven't been productive in the first 30 minutes. Most of their scoring has come in the second half of games. And we saw it on Monday night versus the Rams. They have a couple field goals, and then Jamar Chase, and then Joe Burrow. Yeah. They finally decided to go off. Jamar puts up 141 yards on Monday night, doubles his yardage put out from his first 2 weeks, doubles the amount of catches he has from the first 2 weeks. So hopefully Burrow and Jamar find that connection again and go into week 4 versus Tennessee and have a huge offensive game, get back into that AFC North race.
Yeah, but I believe you said this. Shout out to Luanarumo, who's really been
That's
big game, big time defense coordinator for the Bengals.
Yeah, that Cincy defense played great Monday night. 6 sacks. They get to Stafford. That's the first time I saw the Rams offensive line flustered. That defensive line did a great job. Their pressure package was great. Lots of stunts, lots of games. Shout out to Lou Anarumo for that. It was a great script in that second half to cause havoc. Logan Wilson, 2 picks in that game. 9 picks in his four years in the NFL. For a linebacker, that's pretty solid. Over 2 per year. So shout out Logan Wilson. Shout out defense of the Bengals. Shout out Lou Anarumo. Let's see how they do week 4. I think that's a huge question mark. Is that offense, that defense, pretty stable.
All right, Lombardi Land. It's our final tier. These are the best teams in the National Football League. We're not adding or taking away a tier, but certainly it looks a lot different. The Cowboys, were they 1 last week?
They were 1 last week.
And now they're down to 6. The Buffalo Bills at 5. The Philadelphia Eagles at 4. 49ers at 3. Chiefs still hanging on at 2. Hanging on. They kick the shit out of the Bears. And number 1, we have a new number 1 team.
New number 1.
The Miami Dolphins.
Wow. Oh, when you put up 70, that's like an auto ticket to the number one slot while still being undefeated too. Very impressive performance by the Miami Dolphins. Justin, I want to say that's your AFC team. You were on the Dolphins preseason. You're talking about how good that offense is. Mike McDaniel, how great of an offensive-minded coach he is. Tell us why you think that this is a legit thing for the Miami offense and defense.
Well, I mean, you have the second-year continuity, which we know is such a good thing when it works right in the NFL. Sometimes the continuity argument, like, you even look at Justin Fields and whatever's going on in Chicago. That's a situation where continuity was used as, well, this coaching may not be too great, but we're going to use the argument of continuity of it's bound to get better, right? And that's a situation where it's not good. But for a situation where it's good for a quarterback and coach and offense with skill position players, it's the Miami Dolphins and Tua's second year in this offense. And even without Jalen Waddle too, putting up 70 points. And what really is making this year a little bit more unique for the Miami Dolphins is they have tight ends in there that can block. Mike Gesicki isn't there anymore. But you have tight ends that can block.
Is Durham Smythe getting a shout out here?
And we know that, the San Francisco minds that they like to run the ball. And Mike McDaniel has been really doing some very fun things running the ball this year. Devon Achane.
What a day. I mean, that was basically his second career game in the NFL. He didn't play week 1, limited snaps week 2. His first game, that's a huge welcome to the NFL moment, man. Raheem Mostert also has a day. He reminds me of that 2020 NFC Championship game where he rushes 4 touchdowns with said San Francisco 49ers. He has 4 total touchdowns that game. That offense, man, it's so electric. Everyone gets open. They're so explosive. I think another reason outside of McDaniel just being such a great offensive coach, why they get open, they're just fast. We talk about the Patriots.
They're the fastest team in the NFL.
Fastest team by far. It's wide receivers and running backs too. We talked about the Patriots last week about how kind of boring they are on offense, how the lack of explosiveness they are on offense. Dolphins are the completely opposite direction. They are the most explosive team. They're the most fun team. Anytime one of these playmakers, whether it's Hill, whether it's Waddle, whether it's Mostert, whether it's Achane, any of these guys get the ball, it could be a house call at any moment. And that's the threat when you play against this Miami offense. And Tua's been fantastic. I mean, we talk about their skill players, how good they've been. Tua's been lights out. He's right now, if you stop the count right now, he's the MVP.
Yeah, he
goes 23 of 26. He's not making mistakes. And that's a huge thing in this offense.
Right. Not making mistakes while also being explosive. And the Broncos even made a concerted effort of, we're not going to let you beat us over the top. But still, the average depth of target was so low, but you get yards after the catch and, just the ability of a quarterback to operate an offense. And that's really what Tua is doing well. The run game is coming along. Oh, yeah, and Jeff Wilson is yet to be activated off of IR week 5. So you're going to have a 3-headed monster there in the backfield for Miami. It sucks if you're a fantasy owner for Raheem Mostert, not really knowing what his future is going to be. But neither here nor there. Dolphins are good. They're our new number 1. They have the best offense in football. And usually when you have the best offense in football, that's going to put you in a really, really good spot. It's the reason why the Chargers are holding on at 12, because they have a really good offense despite a really bad team. Dolphins, too, even with their defense, Jalen Ramsey's not here. A really big upgrade. This offseason is Vic Fangio. One of the
plays,
best well-respected defense coordinators in the league. Let's touch on the Dallas Cowboys. So, Dolphins are at 1. I believe we're the Dolphins. They were 5 last week. We had them below the Eagles. I really pushed for them to be ahead of the Bills. But let's talk about the Cowboys. They lose to the Arizona Cardinals. I'm definitely not clicking a panic button there.
No,
but losing Trayvon Diggs on that defense does change what they want to do and what they want to accomplish and maybe how aggressive they actually can be.
Yeah, Bobby Skinner said it best on Football Today. He is such the focal point on that back end of the defense of what they want to do. He's been made fun of on Twitter, Trayvon Diggs, that is, about giving up yardage. He gives up those plays, but he also creates those big plays on the back end for that secondary. And when you're missing a guy like Trayvon, who is such a special playmaker, you're going to have guys step up and make those plays. And when your defense is relying on, we're going to allow some plays here and there, some yardage, but ultimately when the time gets tough, we're going to get a big play, and you're missing that key piece, that's huge shoes to fill. And I'm very curious to see how they adapt, because this was week 1 in terms of Dallas's life without Trayvon Diggs. And they failed that test versus the Arizona Cardinals offense. I mentioned it earlier in the episode. Cardinals had 5 drives in first half, scored points on all 5 drives.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for this Dallas defense. You can't give up points every single drive.
Yeah, nobody has been able to do that. And you can argue, you could say what you want about Zach Wilson, you could say what you want about the Giants' offensive line. I'm sorry. I think for how well coached the Cardinals are right now, I think the Cardinals are still the least talented offense that the Cowboys have faced this year, yet the Cowboys allowed, 5 scores on 5 drives to start that game. Yeah. So, Dalton, that's it.
That's it. That's week 3. We're going to week 4. How about it?
Week 3. We're going to week 4. Honestly, the game that I'm most looking forward to watching is the Dolphins and the Bills.
Oh, that's
the game that I've circled in red.
Mm-hmm. That's literally like a potential AFC East battle right there. 2 of the best teams, the premier teams in the NFL going at it. It's going to be a great one.
So we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Peace. Hey, how about this? Leave a comment. Let us know, hey, your most controversial take. If you disagree with this, if you agree with us, whatever. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you next week.